Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzo.
And today we're talking about Black Panther, released in 2018, directed by Ryan Coogler, written by Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole, and starring Chadwick Boseman, Michael B. Jordan, Lupita Nyong'o, Denai Guerrera, Martin Freeman, Daniel Kaluuya, Letitia Wright, Winston Duke, Sterling K. Brown, Angela Bassett, Andy Serkis, and Forrest Whitaker. This was part of Phase 3, I believe, of the Marvel Universe. It came out... Black Panther was introduced in Captain America Civil War. And this was...
Was Civil War the last Phase 2 movie?
No, I think actually technically, I think Ant-Man was the last Phase 2 movie, and then Civil War might have been the first
Phase
3 movie.
Gotcha.
It's one of those things. It's one of those weird things where, like, I feel like Avengers: Age of Ultron should have been the last Phase 2 movie, and Ant-Man was the first Phase 3 movie. And again, it's like Avengers: Endgame should have been the last Phase 3 movie, but technically Spider-Man: Far From Home is the last Phase 3 movie. I don't know.
Yeah, it's right.
A little strange, but anyway, this was he was introduced in Civil War, and then we got his solo film, if you will. I told John earlier that I realized I say "if you will" too much. So if this is a drinking game, take a shot every time I say "if you will," and you'll be drunk by the end of the episode. I don't know. I don't know if I should say that.
Drunk twice.
So this came out in 2018, and is actually, I was looking it up earlier today, is the highest grossing non-Avengers film of Marvel's library. If you look at domestic box office, it is the number 4 movie in all-time box office domestic gross. And that, of course, is Lifetime, so that includes re-releases and whatnot, but it falls under...
It hasn't had a whole lot of time for re-release, though.
Black Panther, I don't think it has been re-released that much, and if it has, maybe it was during quarantine or something, like drive-ins or something, but yeah, number 1 is The Force Awakens, and then number 2 is Avengers: Endgame, number 3 is Avatar, number 4 is Black Panther. So, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And that's domestic. If you do worldwide, it falls a little bit farther down. Avengers: Endgame is actually number 1. And then Black Panther ends up being number 12. But
Endgame outdoes Force Awakens.
Force Awakens is number 4 for worldwide. It's Avengers, then Avatar, then Titanic, then Star Wars, Force Awakens, then Infinity War, and then so on and so on. And then if you do adjusted for inflation, of course, Gone with the Wind always holds the number 1 spot for inflation, and it drops down all the way to number 31.
Right.
But
I really wish someone would do adjusted for inflation without the re-releases.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Box Office Mojo, and I don't know if that's the greatest website to look for box office information, but like I agree, like lifetime gross, I feel like they shouldn't. I feel like for all-time box office domestic gross or even worldwide gross, they shouldn't include re-releases.
Right.
It should just be the initial theatrical run.
Right.
But even with the initial theatrical run, I think Black Panther did very well. And like like we just said, I don't think it has been re-released enough to bump it up to the number 4 spot. But I saw, I think on IMDb trivia, that it was at number 9. And so I looked it up, and it was at number 4. So I don't know. Maybe it has been re-released enough to knock it up to number 4. I don't know. But it is either way, it's the highest grossing non-Avengers Marvel film.
Yep.
And it's the only Marvel film to be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars.
I didn't know that.
It was, yeah. It was nominated in I guess it would have been the 2019 Oscars for the 2018 movies. And I think that was the only thing it was nominated for. I'm going to look real quick and see if it was nominated for anything else or if it was just Best Picture. So it was nominated for more than just Best Picture. It was actually nominated for one, two, three, four, five, six, seven seven categories, winning in three of them. It won Best Original Score, which I don't remember that. That's pretty amazing. It won Best Costume Design and Best Production Design, and was also nominated for Best Original Song, Best Picture, Best Sound Editing, and Best Sound Mixing.
What won best sound editing?
I have no idea. I'd have
Maybe a
to,
war movie?
yeah, maybe. I'd have to go to the Oscars database and look it up. Um, but the fact, I mean, the score is one of the things that I was going to bring up at some point, and talk about how I thought the score was actually pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty amazing. It's especially my favorite kind of piece of music in this movie is the Killmonger theme. Like every time Killmonger is kind of on screen, he has kind of this, this music theme that pops up, and I really like it a lot.
I I didn't pick up on the music too much, but there was, well, that's not true. What am I talking about? Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, it was because it was it was African themed,
Mm-hmm.
which was, it was really cool. Um,
Definitely
and you
different
had,
than the other Marvel movies for
yeah.
sure.
Um, but there's one scene where the music really stood out to me, and at first I wasn't sure if I liked it because it was kind of weird. But you might know what I'm talking about. But there's a scene where they're in the at the bar, I believe, in South Korea,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like getting in that fight, and the music of the what are the like the female like soldiers, eh,
Yeah, what are they called? um,
but anyway, like um I think it's their theme,
you're right.
and it's got like a little chant, but it almost sounds like an instrument, but I don't think it is. And the whatever like was happening in that moment, it was really cool, um and very like just intense, and
They're like the Wakandan bodyguards, and they're called the Dora, and I don't Malage. I don't know,
mhm,
but that's what they're.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, the music was just very intense,
Mm-hmm.
and just on edge, and it, it fit, and I
Yeah.
really liked it. So yeah, I agree. The score was pretty great.
It was very good, and I didn't realize that it had won Best Original Score, but I think it was probably pretty worthy of it. It did a good job. Before we kind of got talking to the music about the music before we even mentioned the fact that Chadwick Boseman passed away
Right,
tragically at a very young age of 43 of due to colon cancer very
which
recently.
is technically why we bumped this episode up.
Right. Yeah. This was scheduled. We had scheduled Black Panther for. I basically kind of figured out what the year's episodes are going to be, and Black Panther was further down the line. But because of Chadwick Boseman's untimely passing, we decided to move it up. Um, and it was shocking. He had not revealed that he had colon cancer, and so I remember I was lying in bed trying to fall asleep because I think I had to get up early the next morning, and my phone went off, and I decided to look at it, and it said Chadwick Boseman passes away at the age of 43 due to colon cancer, and it was like a news report, and I could not believe it. It was crazy shocking, and in our last episode, it was kind of off air, but John and I talked about Chadwick Boseman and how, to me, it's reminiscent of Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger was significantly younger. He was 28, I think, when he died. But it's an actor of amazing caliber, um, who was taken too soon. Um,
I
and
had never seen him in anything else,
no,
but
he
I
was
do.
just Black Panther to you.
Yeah, the first time I saw him, was in Civil War, and I remember being really impressed with him, and then seeing this movie, definitely I could see the talent there.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I had seen him in a couple. I mean, he had been acting for a while. I looked at his IMDb today, and he had been acting, doing kind of bit parts here and there for years. But the first thing I took note of him in was 42, where he played Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that movie.
It's really good, and he does an amazing job. And then he played James Brown in Get On Up a couple years after that, and he was incredible in that. And so he never gave a bad performance. He was really good in everything he did. And so, obviously it's incredibly sad for his family, losing the person. For us, we didn't know who Chadwick Boseman the person was. I mean, we got a glimpse of it in terms of seeing him on social media or whatever, and the fact that he kind of hid his cancer from the world and did these movies and went like I saw pictures of him at like children's hospitals, excuse me. Showing up as not necessarily as Black Panther, but showing up for kids in children's hospitals kind of as Black Panther, I guess, if you will. There it is again, if you will. Just shows kind of, the type of person he was. And he just seemed like a really great person. And it's a shame that just as from like an artist point of view, I guess, that we don't necessarily will get to see any more of his performances, because he was an incredible actor. So yeah, it was super shocking. And
was T'Challa's accent like, is that the way he spoke, or
no,
was that
not at
an
all.
accent?
Yeah, no,
Wow.
he was. I'm pretty sure he had an American accent. So
Wow.
yeah, that was faked for the movie. Yeah, no, he was a fantastic actor, and if if things were different, I think we would have seen him go. He was probably one of those people that would have gone on to win multiple Oscars. That's what and whether you think the Oscars are all political or whether they're actually given to people who deserve them is whatever. But he was a fantastic actor, and I think we would have seen great things from him.
Yeah.
If he was still here. So it's terribly sad that he is gone, but I'm glad that we got the movies that we did from him, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. I don't know how to.
Nicely done. Yeah, it was definitely a pleasure to watch him in this movie. And I remember thinking, this was actually the first time I had seen the movie. I had not seen Black Panther.
You hadn't seen Black Panther?
You didn't know that?
No, I thought you were rewatching it.
No, this is my first time.
Oh my God. I was actually texting a friend of mine. So a friend of mine was texting me because he was watching the Bill and Ted episode, or listening to the Bill and Ted episode. And he was like, John hasn't seen John Wick 2 or 3. He couldn't believe it. And I told him, yeah, he's watching Black Panther right now because I'm waiting to record. And he said, he hasn't seen Black Panther? And I was like, no, he's seen it. He's just rewatching it. But I was totally wrong.
I'm kind of losing some credibility here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah,
Black Panther. You had seen him in Civil War, and you'd seen him in the Avengers movies, but you just hadn't seen this movie yet.
Correct. Right. And I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if a lot of times when there's a big hype behind a movie, it kind of turns me off a little bit. And even though for instance, I haven't seen several Marvel movies still but those aren't ones that really. Those were more the sequels. I haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp. I haven't seen Guardians. No, I did see Guardians too. Maybe I've seen most of them, but there's a couple others. There's a couple others I haven't seen, but Black Panther was kind of just one that I wanted to see, but I wasn't dying to see it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I missed out because this movie was fantastic.
It's really good. It's actually, I saw it in the theater like opening weekend or something, and I was really impressed with it. But for whatever reason, I never bothered to watch it again. So
Uh-huh.
this was the first time I had seen it since I saw it in the theater,
Okay.
and I forgot just how good of a movie it is.
It's really good.
I did remember that Killmonger, in my opinion, is one of the best Marvel villains that we had had. You know, and I remember thinking that walking out of the theater, thinking that like that was one of the best villains that we've had in a Marvel movie, and his motivations were so clear, and he was just so like you could understand where he was coming from, but at the same time you knew that he was the villain and like what he was doing was not necessarily the best way to go about it and all that. And Michael B. Jordan, I think, just does a fantastic job playing Killmonger.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else I've seen Michael B. Jordan in. He was in Fantastic Four, wasn't he?
He played Johnny Storm
Yeah.
in
Right.
the terrible Fantastic Four movie,
Yeah,
which we have not talked about yet.
Yeah. Spoiler, it's not good. Uh, but what else? What else? And I feel like I've seen him in something else.
I'm sure you have. He's been in quite a few things. I mean, he was in Fruitvale Station. He was in Creed, both of which were directed by Ryan Coogler. He was in Creed 2, which I have not seen yet.
I haven't seen the Creeds.
They're really good. If you like the Rocky movies, you'll like the Creed movie. Well, at least, like I said, I haven't seen Creed 2 yet, but Creed 1, if you like the Rocky movies, you'll like Creed. What else was he in? He was in Chronicle. Did you ever see Chronicle about the kids with the superpowers?
No, I'm looking at his list now, and I think Fantastic Four was the only thing I had seen him in.
Oh wow. He voiced Cyborg in one of the animated DC movies. I think Justice League War or Justice League Flashpoint Paradox or something like that.
Oh, I've seen both of those.
I think he voiced Cyborg in those, or at least in one of those.
Yep, Flashpoint Paradox.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
it. Yeah. He was. I was pretty blown away by Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah,
he was pretty awesome.
And I've seen the question is, Black Panther 2, I think was in the process of either being written or pre-production or something. But now that Chadwick Boseman has passed away, what will Marvel do with the Black Panther franchise? And
well, that's actually why I brought up. Well, I mean, I would have mentioned it anyway, but that's what got me thinking about the fact and mentioning that this was the first time I'd seen it, was because I got to watch this for the first time with the knowledge that Chadwick Boseman was
gone. That's true. Mm-hmm.
And that really made it interesting too, because I knew that what I was watching was not going to get a sequel.
Right.
And I remember thinking that it's a big shame, because it just would have been really interesting to see where they would have gone with after this. But I think just the quality of the storytelling in this, and just everything, the directing, the acting, everything was so just tight,
on point.
Yeah, that I could say that I think you could do, without doing a disservice to Chadwick Boseman, a Black Panther 2, but not have T'Challa as
Be
the Black
Panther.
Panther.
Right.
And kind of carry the torch and do another one. But that it's not necessary, but I think if they wanted to, and if they could it'd be hard, I think, to capture the quality that this one had again. But anyway.
I agree with you. And I think, I didn't know a whole lot about Black Panther before seeing this movie. I knew I knew the character Black Panther, but I didn't even really know who Black Panther was. I didn't know it was T'Challa.
Yeah. I had like a trading card of him.
Right, exactly. I remember before he was introduced in Captain America: Civil War. I remember my only really thought about Black Panther was he's got one of the coolest costumes of the Marvel universe.
Yep.
But I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know what his secret identity was. I didn't know that he was from this African country called Wakanda. I didn't know any of that. And I don't really know why. Like I said, maybe I had a trading card of him. I know I had seen him before because I remember thinking that he had an amazing costume.
Yeah.
And he just looked super cool. But I didn't really know anything about him. And I don't know why. I don't remember if he ever showed up on any of the animated episodes we watched.
If he had been in anything, it would have been Spider-Man.
That's what I was thinking too, but I don't remember him being on anything.
Right. I don't remember either, but it wouldn't surprise me if
Right.
there had been an episode. But
Right.
And what's interesting is I'm pretty sure we talked about this in a previous episode, but when Civil War was coming out, Marvel did not have the cinematic rights to Spider-Man.
Right. Well, they kind of had come up with a deal with Sony to kind of share the rights.
Right. No, I know, but that was, I think, in the middle of production.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when it came to be. I know because we as an audience, I think, found out probably later after the fact.
You're right.
But yeah.
But I remember when people found out Black Panther was going to be in it, it was almost like Black Panther was put in there as a Spider-Man character because they couldn't get Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah. No. You're right. I do remember hearing that. Like in the Civil War comics, Spider-Man had like a very big role, and again, I don't now that we've seen the movie, I don't know because I remember in the Civil War comics, Spider-Man reveals his identity to the world, and that's like the big moment I remember of Spider-Man in the Civil War comics. And that doesn't necessarily happen with Black Panther, but I do remember reading that because they couldn't get the rights to Spider-Man because Sony had the rights and Marvel didn't, that they had Black Panther come into the movie to kind of play that role. Mm-hmm. And so, but then Spider-Man ended up being in the movie, so I don't know if that was all just rumor that came out, ended up not being true, or if there was a little bit of truth to that where they had Black Panther at first and then they realized they could get Spider-Man and they cast Tom Holland and whatnot. I don't know. But
well, if that is the case, it's, I'm very glad that they added Black Panther into the movie. If that was the case, that that he got, picked and then they kept him in there. I mean, obviously they wouldn't have taken him out, but he's a cool character.
Absolutely. And
he's very pivotal to the stuff that goes on, like, with the vibranium.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
In the movie, they talk about vibranium being the, I don't remember if they say it's the hardest metal on Earth.
It's the strongest.
It's strongest, right? In the comics, is vibranium a thing in the comics, or is it adamantium?
No, it's adamantium.
And so they changed it to vibranium
because Fox had the rights to
X-Men.
Yes, they couldn't use adamantium.
So vibranium is not necessarily a thing in the Marvel comics. So
that's my understanding. Yeah.
In Wakanda, adamantium comes from Wakanda.
Correct. That right? That's my understanding.
That's how right. Yeah. For somebody who doesn't really read the comics,
which means that Captain America's shield is made of adamantium.
I think so. I could be wrong, but I think so. That was my question. Like, adamantium, as I understand it, is the strongest metal in the Marvel universe.
Correct.
And so when they said vibranium is the strongest metal in the known universe, I was like, except that there's adamantium. But I think because they, like you said, they didn't have the rights at the time to the X-Men universe, they had to change it up. And that's what my question was did vibranium exist in the comics, or was vibranium created for the Marvel movie universe because they didn't have access to it?
I remember early on finding out that vibranium was replacing adamantium.
Right.
But to think that Wakanda mines adamantium is just kind of mind-blowing to me. Right. But I think that's what it is.
I think you're right. And it'll be interesting to see, because now that Disney / Marvel now owns the film rights to X-Men,
Well, you got to keep it. You just got to keep it.
Right. Well,
Vibranium.
yeah. I guess so. So will
Unless
that
they're
be
like, wait a
Wolverine
minute,
has vibranium in
what's
his?
this metal underneath all the vibranium that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. What we thought was vibranium is actually adamantium. Yeah, I
No, no,
don't know
no,
if
no,
they'll
no.
do that, but
It's we found a harder metal than vibranium. We've got to the bottom layer of the vibranium, and there's a stronger metal underneath.
which we call adamantium.
Yes.
And Wolverine's like, "Yeah, bub." I don't
There
know.
you go. There you go.
What I was gonna say was, before when we started talking about all this, was I found out today actually that I believe in the comics, and I have no idea where this is. I got this off IMDb, so take it with a grain of salt. But I believe Shuri, T'Challa's sister, becomes Black Panther. So that's one. Yeah, that's one area where the movies could go, is they could make Shuri Black Panther for future movies.
She was a good actress too.
She was very good.
Yeah.
I
I can't really think of any bad acting or
in the movie,
even subpar or yeah, it was all really good.
In terms of performances, yeah, everything was on point. Every single person. Chadwick Boseman, Michael B. Jordan, Andy Serkis, Martin Freeman.
Yeah,
Denai
Martin
Guerrero.
Freeman. That was the first time I had heard him do an American accent.
And he's perfect.
It was insane. I'm like, how do all these British actors just nail the American accent? It's like, if I hadn't known, and seen him in so many other movies and heard his British accent, I would have never known.
Yeah,
and just to hear him spit that out was just like, what?
Yep.
Yeah,
he's fantastic. And Andy Serkis does an amazing job as Claw, and his South African accent.
Yes.
Me not being obviously native to South Africa, I think it sounded really good as a South African accent.
Right.
I remember meeting somebody who was from Wales, I think. She was dating somebody I knew or something at the time, and I remember asking her, like, when an American does a British accent, can you tell? And she was like, oh, yeah, every time. But I feel like with, like you said, with Martin Freeman, when somebody does a British, or for example, I think we probably talked about this when we did Daredevil, but Colin Farrell, the very first time I saw Colin Farrell was in Minority Report, and he does an American accent in that.
Right.
And I remember that movie came out on DVD, and I popped in the DVD, watched the special features, and it like cut, to Colin Farrell being interviewed, and he was like, "Oh yeah, working with Steven Spielberg was," and I was like, "What?" I was blown away by the fact that he was Irish. I had no idea.
Yeah, and he's got a super thick Irish accent.
It's very thick. So, I mean, he does an amazing job at an American accent. So yeah, British and Irish and whoever else, everybody outside of America, basically, whenever they do an American accent.
It's so hard to comprehend, like, when they're like, I got to get in an American accent mode, like, how they're tweaking the letters. I'm like, they've got it down.
Yeah, they sure do.
Anyway.
Yeah. There's only like one or two actors I can think of that I can tell, is doing an American accent. And one of them is Sam Worthington, who was in Avatar, and he was also in Terminator Salvation.
Right.
And he's Australian. And when he does an American accent, I feel like his Australian accent kind of peeks through. Especially in Avatar, I remember. And I actually can't think of anybody else. That he's the only one, really, that comes to mind. But I'm sure there's other actors who I'm like, yeah, they're not doing a great American accent. But no, Martin Freeman does an amazing job doing an American accent, and yeah, they do seem to be Europeans, I guess, seem to be very good at mimicking us.
We're getting examples of really good actors too.
That's true too. Yeah, that's true too.
It could be that. Maybe that's why they're getting paid the big bucks.
Well, that could be. Maybe they're getting paid the big bucks. Andy Serkis is in this movie too, so we had a little Hobbit reunion because we had.
Yes, we did.
Andy Serkis, who played Gollum, obviously, and then Martin Freeman, who played Bilbo Baggins.
That definitely came to my mind.
Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, I mean, Andy Serkis is hands down an amazing actor, but he did a really good job in this movie too. Like he played a villain
Yeah.
Claw like really well. And I remember thinking at one point, you know, he's like, I think it was when Killmonger was, they're about to get on a plane and Killmonger ends up kind of turning on him, and
Right.
he's running kind of through. It's like it almost looks like a junkyard. You know, there's like
Right.
different types of vehicles and stuff. And Claw is running through the different cars, and I remember thinking, I wonder if they did something like, I wonder if they strapped. Obviously, Andy Serkis is wearing kind of like a green screen arm,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wondered if he had it like in a cast almost, or if he had it strapped a certain way so that when he was running and moving between cars and stuff, he wasn't moving that arm in kind of instinctively.
Right.
And I read again in IMDb trivia, which again you got to take kind of with a grain of salt, that he didn't do that, and he knew that
It
that
doesn't
was going to be.
surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me either.
I mean,
like,
he becomes animals.
absolutely. I mean, he's done so much motion capture work and whatnot that I feel like he just has that understanding of like his body and knows what is going to be
Right.
CG'd and whatnot. And so I remember in the trivia, it was Ryan Coogler, the director, was like super impressed with him and how he just moved with that whole understanding of this is, my arm is not supposed to be here, and either it's going to
crazy.
be a cannon or it's going to be nothing.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's just super impressive to me. Really,
Yeah.
this whole movie is just filled with incredible actors, really.
Yeah. Yeah. It really blew me away. Like I said, I missed out on seeing it until now.
Hmm.
Um,
I can't believe that. I didn't realize that this was your first time seeing Black Panther. That, I mean, it just blows my mind. I just can't. I thought you had seen it, and I thought we were both rewatching it for the podcast.
it makes me definitely want to go back too and watch Infinity War and Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
Why was there any Wakanda reference in Infinity War?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they go to Wakanda
Oh yeah, that's
in
okay.
Infinity War.
Yes, correct. I was thinking Endgame, but yes, you're right.
Right.
Infinity War is where they go to Wakanda. So yeah,
That's like where the big battle takes place.
right, because that's where Thanos. Yeah,
Snaps.
right. So I really wish I had seen Black Panther before seeing Infinity War.
I wish you had too, because that moment where I remember seeing Infinity War in the theater, and when I can't remember what the line is exactly, but like Captain America says something to the effect of like, "I know a guy," and it cuts to Wakanda, and you hear kind of the Black Panther music and stuff, and the theater, when I saw it, you know, midnight showing or whatever it was, the theater just went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
When as soon as you realize that they're going to Wakanda and they're going to see Black Panther,
Mm-hmm.
like the theater loved it. The audience, excuse me, loved it. And so yeah, I really wish you had seen Black Panther before you saw Infinity War. I think you would have had a better appreciation for that moment.
Because I didn't. You know,
Right.
like I had no connection to it. I knew it was Wakanda, but I and you know, his sister and stuff, like
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yep.
And I had no connection or anything. So would have been a different experience. But now I can go back and watch it and kind of think have a little bit better appreciation for it.
Yeah. For sure.
I really liked how part of me now talking about it, I can see how I wouldn't like it, but like how they had skyscrapers and stuff like a regular city would be.
Right.
But it was also really cool just to see like this massive city in the middle of a jungle, basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember asking my daughter, I was like, I wonder if they have McDonald's.
I'm gonna say no, because they are hiding from the rest of the world. But that's actually, I mean, the theme of, I don't know if you would consider this the theme of the movie, but I guess one of the themes of the movie I think is really good, and it's the whole idea of, you know, if you've got power, should you use that power to help those in need, essentially? And that's kind of Wakanda's whole dilemma. They've been in hiding for years and years and years, and there are countries and people and stuff suffering, and they could help, but then they would have to come out of hiding and whatnot. And I think that was a really interesting question that the movie posed and whatnot. So I thought it was good. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
There's a couple of trivia facts that I saved on my phone, and this first one, I don't know if it's true, but I like to think that it is. And it has to do with Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman. And it says that Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis played Bilbo and Gollum, respectively, in the Hobbit trilogy. And they were affectionately known on the predominantly black set as the Tolkien white guys. Which I don't know if that's true, but I kind of hope that it is true. Just because I think it's kind of funny. The other bit of trivia I've actually already talked about, which is that this is the highest grossing non-Avengers Marvel film. The other note I wrote was it had to do with Killmonger, and it was the fact that he was introduced. I don't remember how far into the movie he was introduced, but he had that one scene where he's at like the museum,
right?
And he kind of poisons the curator or whatever, and then steals the vibranium weapon, and then takes the mask. And then after that, we don't see him for a long time. And I actually made a note of it when I was watching it. It was almost an hour into the film. I think it was like 58 minutes into the movie that Killmonger comes back. So for the first hour of the movie, we saw Killmonger once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do remember that. Like,
and he's
feeling like he wasn't in it for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's the main villain of the movie. And even with him only being in the movie one time within the first hour, he's still one of the best Marvel villains that we've had. I do want to talk a little bit about the female characters. This movie has some pretty strong female characters. The biggest ones are Okoye and Shuri.
Right.
And I love both of those characters a lot. I think Shuri is amazing as, T'Challa's sister, who is essentially the head of like the technology department, I guess you could call it. She's developing different things to do with vibranium, and I remember at one point in the movie, I can't remember exactly what they're talking about, but he talks about something about, I think it's like the suit maybe. The suit being perfect, and she's like, just because it's good doesn't mean that we can't improve upon it. And she's got these improvements to do, and then there's also I think a Back to the Future 2 reference in there.
There is the shoes.
The shoes, yeah.
Yeah.
She talks about being inspired by that movie or something.
I figured that's probably what they were talking about.
I'm pretty sure it's a Back to the Future 2 reference. Yeah.
And I called them sneakers.
Yeah. And he just looks at her, which I thought was funny. But Okoye, I think, is like such a strong character. She's so cool. As kind of I guess she's like the
general, basically.
The general of the bodyguard company, which I forget what the name is. But yeah, she's super. And she was on The Walking Dead. You used to watch The Walking Dead, right?
I watched the first 3 seasons, and then
I got you.
Part of the 4th one.
I don't know
is she I can't remember her name. Did you not watch The Walking
or something like that?
Yeah.
Forget what her name is, but no,
she uses the swords.
Yeah. I think I stopped in season 3, but I think she was introduced by that point.
Yeah, she was. I think she was introduced in season 3.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy because it's interesting because they're both very strong characters, but at the same time, I think they're kind of different. And they obviously look a little bit different with the bald head versus the
dreads.
Dreads, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in Walking Dead, she was very, very guarded and introverted and just barely talked. And she's like the complete opposite.
Yeah. And so she's a good actor, a good actress.
Yeah.
And I think she does a great job. And I remember in Avengers Infinity War, after Thanos snaps, Black Panther disappears, but she remains. So she's actually one of the few Wakandans, I think, that is around after the snap.
Mm-hmm.
And And she's on the cover of Endgame and whatnot.
Well, I don't even know if we talked about this in game for our episode, but I remember like in the theater, it stood out to me that all of the original Avengers, if I'm not mistaken,
were there.
stayed. Yes.
Yeah. It was all the new, like Phase 2 and beyond people that that vanished. Aside from Ant-Man, because Ant-Man was technically in the quantum realm when it happened, I think.
Right.
But yeah, no, like Black Panther, Winter Soldier, even Spider-Man. I don't remember if all of the Guardians. Oh yeah, pretty much all the Guardians. Doctor Strange, all the Guardians except Rocket, I think.
Right. And I think that might have been actually what made me think about it. I was like, all the Guardians.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
everybody except the Phase 1 people essentially.
Yeah.
Got snapped out of existence. Yeah. So I mean that right there was a clue to me.
I mean, Gamora, she didn't disappear.
I think she did technically get snapped out of existence.
No, she was dead.
Did she die?
Yeah,
oh yeah, you're right. No, yeah, she did die in Infinity War. You're right.
That was the whole thing that triggered.
Yeah, you're right.
Star-Lord. Yep.
You're right. I it's funny because I've seen both of those movies a couple times, but they meld together a little bit.
Do.
And so
yeah,
I forgot when that happened.
Like I said earlier,
he had to get the Soul Stone first before he could snap, and so she obviously died. Yeah.
And I earlier I was thinking Wakanda was in Endgame. So
right.
yeah.
But yeah, that was. I mean, we knew that there was going to be an Avengers Endgame, and that they're not just gonna stop making movies after Endgame.
Right.
So the fact that Black Panther and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange all got snapped out of existence, you're like, yeah, they're coming back.
And I remember when that happened, and apparently there was this big thing, like I guess online or whatever in the community, where people were like, I can't believe they killed all. Like people really thought that they got rid of it. I'm like,
yeah.
No,
what?
Come on.
Right, yeah. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me that people actually thought that.
Not to mention, like, I don't know why we're talking about
Endgame
and Infinity War,
fine.
But Doctor Strange says the only way we will win is if, we do this, which means they're coming back.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So.
I mean, I remember having that thought watching Infinity War for the very first time in the theaters, especially like when Black Panther disappears and Spider-Man and then disappears. I was like, these folks are coming back. Like, this is not that big of a deal. So, but I do remember being in theater and it cuts to the credits and people were like, what? And I was like, come on, dudes. They're coming back. Like, it's, don't fret too much. But yeah, no. Speaking of Avengers, I noticed your T-shirt there, John. You are wearing an Avengers shirt.
I got Avengers. It's actually old, like the old guys character style.
Let's see. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Vision.
And Black Panther's actually on there. That's why I wore it.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, Vision's on here. But yeah, of course
cool.
We got Black Panther.
Looking amazing as always, Black Panther.
Yeah. So my mom actually got me this.
Very nice.
She brought it downstairs from upstairs because I live in my mom's basement.
That's cool.
No, I don't.
That's actually.
I have four kids, so that would not work out.
They live in the sub basement. No, that's
they actually live out in the backyard and the dog cage.
No, that's actually a pretty cool Avengers shirt. I've got I don't have I'm not wearing it, but I have a Marvel shirt that has a lot of different Marvel characters on it, including Black Panther, but it is currently dirty, so I couldn't wear it today. But,
gotcha. Did you see Scarlet Witch?
I did see her on there, yeah.
Her eyes are very just crazy on here. She looks like she's just making like a creep face. Like, she's seeing something crazy,
Right.
that's for sure. Captain America's smiling, so whatever it
And
is,
she's
he's happy
shocked.
about.
Yeah, that's funny. But anyway, back to Black Panther.
Yes.
I don't really have anything specific to say about anything else that I can think of anyway. I mean, overall, this movie is just really, really good.
There's something I will say, and kind of in that realm is, I remember, I don't, maybe I didn't hear this, but I felt like just with the reaction and everything, people were treating this movie like it had been groundbreaking and kind of changed the game for, like we hadn't seen anything like this before.
Right.
And I did not see any of that in the movie. Like, this was a typical superhero movie. But what
Right.
I did notice is, even though I was seeing stuff that had already been done before and we had already seen and wasn't new, it didn't feel old either or
Right.
overused. It
Right.
was it still felt fresh.
Right.
So
I think the main thing that was groundbreaking with this film is the fact that it is a predominantly black cast,
right.
and that it was as far as I know, the first uh like black superhero film. Like the only other one I can think of is Blade, and with Blade he was black, but then there was Whistler, and there was a couple. It wasn't
Yeah.
essentially an all black cast. Whereas, I mean, this movie technically has Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis in it, but
Right.
I think those are like the two characters.
Right.
Um,
But to me, I mean, that doesn't even matter.
like you said, I don't think it was necessarily. I think it's a really good movie, but I don't necessarily think that it does anything
Right.
to like reinvent the genre or
Right.
anything.
But everything was just done so well and didn't feel tired or rehashed.
Right? No, absolutely.
It wasn't new, but it didn't feel like they were using the same tricks over again.
Exactly. It's a movie that I could definitely rewatch.
Oh yeah.
And
I would say this is in the upper, the upper picks
like
of mine for the quality of Marvel movies.
yeah, absolutely. Me too. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it's a really good movie. And one of the things I've seen online about what Marvel could do to keep the Black Panther movies going is they're going to introduce the multiverse in Doctor Strange 2. Doctor Strange is called the Multiverse of Madness, I believe. So, unless they introduce it before then, but the idea is they could introduce a alternate reality Black Panther who is played by somebody else. And the person that posted this online thinks that one of the best actors to play Black Panther would be Michael B. Jordan. And so they could get Michael B. Jordan, who played Killmonger in this movie, to play Black Panther from here on out. He would technically be an alternate reality Black Panther, but he could potentially, I should say, carry the torch and be the
that
new
would
Black
be
Panther.
interesting.
Yeah,
and he would definitely bring the quality of the acting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he could definitely handle it. That's absolutely for sure.
Yeah, I doubt that'll happen.
Me too. I don't see them doing that.
Yeah.
I think they were in the process of writing Black Panther 2 when Chadwick Boseman passed away, because I saw something from Ryan Coogler.
I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have no idea what Marvel has in mind for the. In
fact,
if they even just they might just scrap it and say
Black Panther came out 2 years ago, so
yeah,
they were probably almost done with it.
They were probably getting close to shooting.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. So John, I'm curious, especially since this was the first time you had seen this movie. What would you rate it?
I've been juggling between a 4 and a 4.5.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to lean with 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah. I was actually, when we first started recording, I was thinking to myself that this was a 4 out of 5 star movie. And the more we talk about it, the more we talk about how good it is and everything, I'm thinking, you know what? This is actually a 4.5 out of 5 star
Yeah,
movie.
it was really well done.
Yeah, it is very good. I remember thinking, I think I was just, again, probably a little bitter because of The Dark Knight. But I remember thinking when it got nominated for Best Picture, I was like, really? I was like, it's a great movie, but it's like, it's not the best Marvel movie I've seen. And it's not the best superhero movie I've seen, like The Dark Knight. I mean, come on. But rewatching it now and everything, I think it's worthy. I think the only negative I would give it is there are times where the CGI is not great.
Yeah, I noticed that with the rhino.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even when T'Challa is in the snow in the Jabari tribe in the mountains, and they're covering him with the snow to me looks super fake.
Okay.
I remember actually rewound it at one point, and I was pointing it out to my wife. I was like, "Look at this snow! Doesn't the snow look fake?" And she goes, "No." And I was like, "Okay, I guess it's just me." But I personally thought it looked super fake. And there's a couple of times with Black Panther. I remember in the beginning, one of the opening scenes in the movie where he's in the jungle saving Lupita Nyong'o's character, whose name I can't remember at the moment. It just looked a little cartoony, and there's a couple of times where I think towards the end of the movie where he's fighting Killmonger, where the CGI just looked a tiny bit cartoony. So that's the one kind of negative I would give to this movie, is that the CGI just maybe doesn't quite hold up. But it's not enough to really detract from my enjoyment of the film,
right,
at all.
Yeah,
because the story's there. Like I said, the antagonist, his motivation is amazing, and you totally understand it. And he's an excellent villain, and the actor who plays the villain is excellent. I mean, it hits all the right notes, I think.
Yeah,
personally,
definitely, I agree.
So yeah, excellent movie.
Yeah, I'm glad I finally got to see it.
Me too, and I cannot believe this is the first time you've seen it. It blows my mind. So yeah, we'd love to know what you think about Black Panther. You can always leave us a comment on www.cinemaheroes.com. You can always leave a comment on our Facebook page as well, facebook.com/SM and SM podcast. We're on Twitter @CinemaHeroes and Instagram @CinemaHeroes. And of course, this is on YouTube. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.